everybody. Welcome. It's Sayward from findyourdivinity.com. Today I wanted to talk about affirmations. This is an absolute buzzword. It is all over the internet. If you have been on the internet in the last couple years, you've heard of affirmations. But a lot of us, I feel like a lot of people kind of think that it's hokey and like there's no real scientific basis behind it, and it's just these woo-woo people that work with affirmations. And I'm here to tell you that there is a scientific basis behind it. It's called cognitive restructuring. So I just want to dig into what the concept of cognitive restructuring is and give you the steps about how you can apply this to hopefully make things a little bit better in your life. So to begin with, I want to show you this deck. This is the Soul's Journey deck, lesson cards by James Van Praagh. And I chose this deck specifically today because it is an affirmation deck. So I'm just gonna do a little bit here, some shuffling, and let's see what comes up. Let's start off with a card and see what we can find today. Also, if you hear clicking sounds or any other weird sounds, Toby, the dog who made the appearance in the last video, yeah, he's right here. So, the card that came is this one. It's called Change. The affirmation is, I understand that nothing can grow or evolve without movement. And I think that this is really wonderful because this card is absolutely talking about what we're talking about today, and it's changing our mindsets. So, everybody knows about affirmations. Not so many people are familiar with the concept of cognitive restructuring, okay? Basically, what we're talking about is recognizing negative thoughts and intentionally changing those into more positive ones, okay? Some interesting things that I learned before we get into the process there. Did you know that in some studies it's estimated that children hear 400 negative comments for every positive one? 400 to 1. Now, if we understand that children are in their prime neural expansion, okay, their brains are just growing and absorbing, they're little sponges, we say, right? They're taking in everything. Then what does it do to their thought patterns throughout life when they're continually hearing negativity? A lot of us, I think, walk around with a kind of pessimistic, negative dialogue, internal dialogue. And I think a lot of that comes from childhood, right? So in the last video, we talked about trauma and about trauma dumping. And one of the things that really came from that is that a lot of the stuff that's stored in here came from the past. Our childhoods really do affect the people that we grow up to become. So, if you are a person who heard 400 negative comments for every positive one, perhaps you too have developed a little bit of a negative internal dialogue. Each time that we confirm a negativity, we're strengthening that. So each time that we say, oh, well, I'm not good enough to do that, and then we don't do that thing, we're reinforcing that, okay? We're strengthening that no muscle, if you will. So I thought that that was really interesting. Another thing I think that all of us can kind of relate to, especially if you're here on the internet watching me, is bad news. Like, every headline, all the time, it's just like catastrophe after catastrophe after catastrophe. And let me tell you that continuing to see negativity in the outside world reinforces negativity internally, okay? the chaos of bad news is absolutely addictive. All right? We keep looking for more bad news, more bad news. And that's how the media proliferates right now. That's why they're doing so well, is because they just keep writing banger after banger, and the ones that do the best, the ones that get the most clicks, are the ones that are the most chaotic. Okay? Keep this in mind. Now, I want to share a quote that I think it's really integral to what we're talking about here. It's from Viktor Frankl, okay? Viktor says, "Everything can be taken away from man, but one thing, the last human freedom." What is it? To choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances. That's right. They can take away everything. You can have absolutely nothing, but you always have the choice of how you're going to look at that and how you're going to respond to it. So, let's talk about this cognitive restructuring. What is it? What we want to do is identify what's going wrong, determine whether or not we have any way to change that, develop a way to change the way that we're thinking, and then take a look later on and see if it worked. Okay? Pessimistic and victim mindsets are rife. Like, if you have been anywhere on the internet lately, it's obviously there, right? And with that whole thing about the chaos being addictive, there is also an addictive quality to engaging in this sort of behavior, okay? I think that the world right now really has this sense of the glass is half empty and there's a hole in the bottom and it's draining out, and what's the point, because, it's not going to work anyway. Well, when we tell ourselves that, we are confirming that, right? We're creating this self-fulfilling prophecy of, oh, well, this is bad and that's bad and the whole world is just absolutely terrible. Well, if we keep saying that and we keep validating that, then yeah, that's how it's going to be for us. But we always have the ability to change that. So if you are a pessimistic person and you really struggle with constantly thinking the worst and thinking the worst about people, situations, the worst about the future, right? Well, I can never do this, or this will never work because this is just gonna be a failure. If you think that way from the start and then it fails, congratulations. You fulfilled your own prophecy of failure, when you might have been able to take a more positive outlook and create a more positive mindset and set yourself up for success. The reason why I think that this is so important to talk about is because, we're often very much in here. We're often very much in our minds. But what we don't recognize is how much that negative thinking actually affects our physiology, our bodies, okay? Negative thinking has been attributed with affecting mental health, right? If you're going around going, oh, well, I can't ever do this and I'm not worthy, and of course you're going to feel like crap, right? Of course you're going to be depressed, or, oh my God, this isn't going to work, this is going to be terrible. There's anxiety, okay? A lot of us, most of us, are dealing with that, and more of us are dealing with that each and every day, okay? So there's that effect. But also, your physical body, it's affecting your physical body. So we see decreases in immune function. They have measured they've tallied up the lifespans of cancer patients and grouped them into whether they had a positive outlook or a negative outlook about their condition. And across the board, people who have a negative outlook tend to have decreased lifespans. They're fulfilling that prophecy. oh, I have cancer, so now I'm just going to die. Well, okay. You're right, I guess. Our mindset plays such a big role on how our body responds. Okay? So, getting yourself, if you recognize that you have this negative thought pattern, getting yourself out of that and pushing yourself, encouraging yourself into more positive thought pathways, right? It's not only helping your mental health, but it's changing the way that your physical body reacts, okay? Doing this can increase your immune function. It can increase your mental health. It can help keep you from getting a host of chronic diseases, chronic pain, heart disease, cancer. These things are tied. They are linked to our body's responses to stimuli and to our thoughts, okay? So if you want to live a longer, happier, healthier lifestyle, this is a way to start. So, cognitive restructuring. What is the process? What do we do? There are 4 steps to this, okay? Number 1 is to be aware of stressors. So, this can be a difficult step for a lot of us because it may be hard to determine what it is that's actually stressing you out. Is it your job? Is it your family? Is it is it your own thought patterns? Is it money? Is it the past? What is it that is causing you the stress? Okay, we have to identify that. Now, once we identify one, or in most people's cases, many things that are causing us stress, we have to determine, why is this stressful to me? And how do I feel about it? This can take a while, all right? It may not be an immediate process. Now, for some of us, we may be like, oh yeah, I just hate my boss. I can't stand my boss. They are terrible. They're overlording, they're micromanaging. I can't do anything right. Every time that this person walks into the room, I feel so stressed out. Okay? If you can do that and you can identify that, identify the stressor, the boss, but go deeper into it. Is it having a boss, or is it this particular boss? And if it is this particular boss, then how are their actions? What are they doing rather that affects you and makes you feel stressed? Then look at, how does it make me feel? And don't just sit with, well, it makes me feel stressed. Go deeper, okay? When that boss is micromanaging you, are you feeling like you're not good enough? Are you feeling afraid that they are going to come back with some negativity? Are you feeling pressured? Are you feeling inadequate? What are the actual feelings that these events, this interaction is causing you? Okay? So identify the stressor. Be aware of the stressors. Once you've done that, then we can move on to the second step. And step 2 is to reapprise the situation. So this is like taking a step back and trying to look at things from a third-person perspective, trying to look at things like more globally, stepping out of how I feel right now and trying to look at things more objectively. All right. In this step, we want to identify what it is that we can control and what it is that we cannot control. Okay, so let's take this boss situation I've conjured here. Say this boss comes in and you have a big meeting and you're supposed to be the one who's preparing for the meeting, right? And the boss is coming in and they're going to be looking over your notes and determining whether or not you've prepared everything. Okay? What can you control? Can you control the fact that the boss is going to come into your space? Probably not. Can you control the fact that the boss is going to want to look at what you did? Probably not. But can you control what it is that you've prepared? Yeah, you can think back to what it is that the boss complained about before and try to make those things right, okay? You can control the way that you react, all right? Are you just going to assume that everything that you've done is going to be terrible and you're going to get yelled at? You could, but that's probably where you already are now. Is it possible? Not probable, but is it possible that this boss will walk in, see everything that you've done, and find it acceptable? Or perhaps, if you're lucky, even be happy about it. Is that possible? Probably, right? So it's a matter of what can we control? Can we control the way that we feel? Can we control the work that we put out? Yes. All right? And also this goes back to the Viktor Frankl quote about choosing one's attitude. Can we choose the way that we are going to approach the situation? Are we going to approach it with, oh man, this boss just hates me. It doesn't matter what I do. They're not going to like it. Or I'm going to do my best. And if they like that, then great, I've done my job. And if they don't like that, well, then I'm going to see if there are areas for my improvement, or if this person is just being mean for the sake of being mean, okay? Because that then takes it away from, it doesn't matter what I do, I'm out of control, and it puts it back. It puts that locus of control back to you. And this is an important part of like feeling less stress, is feeling like you have some control in the situation, okay? So reapprise the situation. What is it that you can control? This brings us then to the third step. We're halfway through. Wow, now we're a little bit past halfway through. But the third step is to adopt a new frame of mind. Okay, adopt an affirmation. So the affirmation that we had is change for this card, right? I understand that nothing can grow or evolve without movement. This is a great way at looking at things, as opposed to, oh my God, everything's going to change. I don't want it to change. I don't like change. I'm a human being and I detest change. All right? It's a more positive way of looking at it. When we look at the boss situation, instead of saying, oh, well, it doesn't matter what I do, out of my control, it becomes, I'm going to do the best that I can. And my best is going to be good enough. And if it's not, that's going to be up to that person to deal with it. Okay? Developing a more positive mindset and developing specifically the ability to have some control over what's going on in your life. So, identify the stressor. Figure out what it is that you can and can't control. Focus on the things that you can control and stop the doomsday. All right? Accepting. These are things that I can control, and so I'm going to do the best that I can. And also, it doesn't mean that the whole world is going to end if the boss isn't happy about something. Maybe there are changes that could be made, or maybe they're just having a bad day, or a bad week, or a bad month. Now, finally, the last thing that we do after we have reframed this, and mind you, this is a process of reframing, okay? You can do it once and then go to the final step, which is evaluating your efficacy. But what I suggest you do is to apply this over a number of days or weeks and then come back to the final step, which is evaluating the efficacy. So we've done the application process, right? We've identified the stressor. We've figured out what we control about it. We've changed our mindset, our outlook to this event. And then we look back at it and we say, did this work? Was this helpful? Did I feel better about it? Did I feel less stressed? Was I super negative? Did feeling positive feel better? Was this helpful to me? Evaluate that. So if it was helpful, if it was effective, then that is confirmation, that is validation for the positive. And when you do that, it helps your brain to go, oh, well, I guess I don't have to be so negative. Well, it did work out that one time. So we keep doing that, all right? And what we're doing is we're strengthening these neural pathways to lead us more towards positive thinking, okay? By doing that, we are decreasing the stress responses from our mind and our body. We are decreasing the output of these stress hormones, and we are working actively to improve our health. So that is cognitive restructuring, aka affirmations, and I really do encourage you guys to give it a try. You can document your results through journaling. I find that it's often helpful when you're starting one of these processes to kind of keep notes, because after a while it can be hard to remember what happened. And if you have a list of what's happened and you have these journal entries, after a while you can go back and be like, it looks like my mindset's changing. I do actually feel better about this. It's working. All right, so give it a try. The worst thing that can happen from this is that it doesn't work and you continue to be super negative and unhappy. But if you don't try, you don't got a chance. All right, thank you guys so much. I super appreciate your time. I'm so glad that we get to talk about these cool concepts. I really love the idea of like taking these esoteric woo-woo ideas and rooting them into science. So if you guys enjoyed this video, please, again, as always, hit the like and subscribe. It helps me so much. And I will see you guys next time. Have a great day.